Alright, so what I've got for you today is a very long, drawn-out macro game of Protoss versus Zerg. And it's been a while since I've last seen a PvZ that goes the distance. It seems that most of the top-level Zerg players right now are very keen to try and end the game early whenever the opportunity presents itself. No one really seems to be that comfortable playing the late game. So I haven't seen this game yet myself, but I'm excited to find out what ends up going down because it seems that a lot of Protoss players, at least at the pro level right now, enjoy sitting back, and then Zerg players are trying to, like, kill them before they get to that maxed out carrier ball with Sonic Storm and Disruptors and all that, right? So, I don't really know exactly what to expect, but we're gonna find out together. It's gonna be nice to get an update on the current state of PvZ. This particular game was played during IEM Katowice. I don't know who ends up winning this. I believe it was played during the group stage, so I know nothing. I just know that the replay size, or rather the replay duration is very, very long. And actually, the file size is now finally over 1 megabyte big. So, actually, it's 1023 kilobytes, if I recall correctly. So that would just barely not make it a megabyte. Yeah, anyways. So, generally speaking, by the way, in case that means nothing to you, the replay files for these games in StarCraft 2 are usually anywhere between like 50 kilobytes all the way up to like maybe 350 kilobytes, right? If it's a longer game. But this one goes over 1,000, which I think means that we are in for a treat? Question mark? I don't know. We're going to find out. I mean, if you don't watch this, it probably didn't turn out to be that good, right? I mean, I record a lot of videos that don't end up making it to the YouTube channel. But anyways, before I continue blabbering onwards, let's get started by introducing the players. Because spawning here in the top right-hand corner of Jaganatha and playing with the blue Protoss probes from Germany, we have ShoWTimE and his opponent. In the opposite corner with the red Zerg drones, he goes by the name of Solar. Now, I did cast a long drawn-out game that Solar recently played against Maru as well. In case you're interested in that series, I'll go ahead and post a link to it down below in the description of this video because, I mean, that is a fun match. That Terran versus Zerg is, let's just say, explosive. I mean, I think you probably already get what I'm trying to get at. Either way, let us see what ends up going down. So, I mean, both of these players, they play standard Protoss and standard Zerg, right? Like, they could play aggressively if they really wanted to, but their bread and butter is just opening up normal. So, indeed, this is not surprising at all. It's going to be a Stargate start right here from ShoWTimE. Just simply the best calculated and most efficient way to open up currently in PvZ. It's going to be scouted here shortly as well by Solar, who's probably going to be so surprised. He's going to be like, what? There's a Stargate? No way, bro. A Stargate? What? No, Stargate's obviously very, very common. We do have a double Adept start over here, so that's going to be quite nice. ShoWTimE using a couple Chrono Boosts here. Ooh, even a triple Adept. But using a couple of Chrono Boosts here to try and get those bad boys to the other side of the map. Or bad girls, actually, right? Anyways, doesn't matter. They're going to try and kill a couple workers here, maybe. That being said, we already see Zergling Speed just about to finish up. Solar, though, is going to be able to now confirm exactly what is going on. So, it is going to be a pretty quick Oracle here. So, the Oracle will be Chrono Boosted out. Usually, it seems that everyone right now... Ooh, the Adepts actually shaded into the main base. It seems that most of the Protoss players right now are very content making Void Rays. Wouldn't be surprised if we're going to be seeing some Void Rays as a follow-up, though. But good scout right here. 3 drones right here at the cost of 2 Adepts, I think. Yeah. Is that worth it? Maybe 1 Zergling? Nah. I don't think that's worth it. So it seemed good when you first saw those Adept shading into the base. But now, I mean, it's going to be hard to keep that 3rd base alive, right? Yeah. So in a way, the very first Oracle has just been defended. Because the Oracle is now needed for base defense. And, I mean, he just activated the Pulsar Beam. He's going to have to deactivate it again. Yeah, this is not a great start right here for ShoWTimE, I don't think. Obviously, this will allow him, Solar that is, to just get a couple more Queens out. He hasn't really bothered with too many Spores just yet, which is really nice for him as well, because that means that more and more money is going towards that drone production, right? And the more drones you get earlier on into the game, the easier the match develops for the Zerg. Okay, so actually, it's going to be a couple Oracles here. Nice. We're going to go up to the 3rd here as well. We have now a Robo facility as a follow-up, okay. So let's see. He needs to get some sort of work done. Usually, I like to say like 10 worker kills is what you're aiming for as a Protoss player. Assuming you don't lose the units, though. So, yeah, this is a great situation for Solar to be in up to this point in the game. Lara's coming up here. 4 minutes and 40-ish seconds, I think, is when that started. Roach Warren right now is a follow-up. Wouldn't be surprised to see an Evo Chamber and indeed additional gases coming up here shortly as well. He's scouting around over at the third base of the opponent. He hasn't seen the Robo. Now he has. He sees what's going on. Revelations being utilized there by the Oracles just to confirm that nothing cheeky is happening here from Solar. Solar is not, you know, secretly hiding a, I don't know, like a Baneling Nest or a second Roach Warren or something crazy like that. There's the Evo coming up as well. Nothing too crazy here from Solar. Just happily macroing up. And this is a really good position for the Zerg players to be in. So Zerg in general in this matchup tries to go up to 66 workers as quickly as they can. So 66 workers will give you enough workers to basically saturate 3 bases entirely. Now here come the Triple Oracle. Triple Oracle is nice because you can kind of ignore what's going on. Queens no target firing down. Ooh. Oh, at least those that weakened one, but it's not gonna get that many worker kills. And so far, I mean, this has been a near flawless game by Solar. He's gonna go Roach Warren. He's gonna go straight into the Infestation Pit as well as the +1 missile upgrade. So the reason why I want to get 66 workers out is because that's really the moment where you can start building army comfortably, right? So you can see at the worker count, at least if you were paying attention there to the bottom section of the screen, that Zerg was quite far ahead when it came to the workers. He's going to be able to go into the Hydra Den here. He's going to be able to go into the 4th hatchery. And considering this is a long macro game, I was thinking maybe this could be swarm hosts, but nah. I think this is just going to be straight into a hive and then straight into a lurker den. Is it going to be straight into a hive? Like, why otherwise would you start up the Infestation Pit at this point? He's probably waiting until those hallucinated phoenixes disappear. Is he going to start it? He has the money for it. Yep, there we go. Okay. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, there is a Robo Bay coming up. So after opening up with a couple of oracles, at the very least, we do see a transition down towards lower tier units in a way, right? So we're going to be seeing Archon Immortal. Archon Immortal is absolutely fantastic when it comes to dealing with most things Zerg. There's this weird dynamic between Lurkers and Archon Immortal Zealot. Sometimes Lurkers will absolutely get destroyed by Archon Immortal Zealots and Storm especially, and sometimes the Lurkers, when they're in big enough numbers, absolutely destroy that Protoss ground army. So I love watching that dynamic between the two. Solar, though, apparently very confident in just, playing a very laid-back style so far. Most Zerg players don't really want to play this right now. It seems that a lot of people are focusing primarily on trying to get some damage done before this point in the game. You can see that Solar really hasn't achieved a whole lot. ShoWTimE once again, making a wall over here as well. He's going to head on over towards the 4th Nexus here at about the 7.5 minute mark. And this is also going to just be turtled up, yeah. So, as someone who plays a lot of Zerg myself, this is the type of game from Protoss that really scares me, right? So, I do not enjoy playing against Protoss players that play this, because once they max out, they will usually transition back towards Skytoss, right? So, they will sit on Archon Immortal Zealot here, and then get Psionic Storm and stuff, and then they start warping in. And eventually, you're going to go up against that maxed out Skytoss army, and it's very difficult to counter that. No council on that hatchery, so that's a bit of a shame for Solar, but Solar already happily sitting at 80 workers here. I don't think he's really going to be all too bothered. Alright, so there's indeed that fleet beacon that I was talking about. So the fleet beacon is going to enable the building here of course, the carrier, the mothership, the Tempest, and all that. And I love actually what the Protoss is doing over here. This is buying a lot of time. So the problem when it comes to transitioning towards carriers is that they take a long time to build. So, okay, this is interesting. Solar is gonna go for 6 Dropper Lords right now. He's finishing up the Lurker upgrades for the ranged. I think he's gonna go for a big drop. Is that the plan? Is he gonna like load all of the Lurkers into Dropper Lords? Oh my god, no, he's gonna just load the whole army in there. He's got a couple more Dropper Lords somewhere. Alright. Is this just gonna head on over straight to the main base? I guess what you could do is get these units inside of the main base. If you drop those, yeah, exactly. If you drop those inside of the main base and then push with the main Zerg army over on the left, maybe there's some potential there. Protoss obviously always has a hard time splitting off their armies, because they only have like 12 units in total, so it's difficult to make that call. Alright, nice stasis ward over here though. Zealots may accidentally encounter those Dropper Lords, which is a great little scout right here for ShoWTimE. He's definitely, he's definitely going to be able to pick up on this. The question is, how is he going to be able to respond, right? Because this is only really a small chunk of the Zerg army. Well, I mean, that's 5 Overlords full of units. Maybe it's more than it looks. Anyways, Immortals are now going to be waiting here. And I think that Accidental Scout is going to turn out to be a blessing here. Solar wants to try and see if he can force the split on this Protoss army, and he's done so very successfully. However, the problem is that the Lurkers... Oh my god! Oh my god! Perfect defense. At the same time, we have the Zealots running on over. The ones that scouted the Dropper-Lords to the 3rd base location of the Zerg. Zerg, in the meantime, is trying to break over at the... or break on at the 3rd base of the Protoss, but I don't think that this is going to be enough. No. Wonderful play right there by ShoWTimE. Responds perfectly. As we expected, right? This is what he does best. It's very difficult, actually, to split off your units in the right place at the right time. Because if you commit too many units to the main base, your bases will fall, right? If you complete, or if you get too little inside of the main base, the Lurkers will just murder you, and then you've achieved nothing. Alright, so... With this hit here, to the Zerg armies at the very least, like his eco is still looking fine, but this is gonna buy ShoWTimE a lot of time to go into that tech transition, right? So he's gonna start up the carriers at this point. He's gonna be going into the +1 upgrade here as well for the flyers, which is fantastic. And he's gonna be able to continue dropping more and more minerals here with the Warp Prism if he wants to. Usually, well, a fake drop, really? An empty Overlord drop? I kind of like it. Maybe you can make your opponent freak out. That's... I feel like if you show this, Protoss may once again split off their army, and then all of a sudden you might be able to get some tremendous amount of work done. Maybe it's actually just hiding over there to go for a counterattack. A fake Dropper-Lord drop between, like, apostrophes, right? Like, quote-unquote drop. Might actually not be a bad idea. Imagine... You know what? Imagine if Solar went for the fake drop and actually made his opponent scout it, and then all of a sudden, like, I don't know, like 30, 40-ish supply of the Protoss was stuck inside of the main. It's kind of cool. It makes no sense, but it does, though, right? I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud here, but I feel like that would have actually been more successful than what Solar did after it got scouted. I guess you can't really force your opponent to scout it, right? But selling misinformation is definitely part of the job here as a Zerg. Alright, so carriers are being built. +3 is coming up here. We have the +2 flyer upgrade as well. And you can see ShoWTimE is doing a whole lot of nothing, right? He's just not playing an active game of StarCraft. This is one of my concerns for this matchup in particular, because the way that ShoWTimE is playing, right? I'm not critiquing ShoWTimE at all. This is the best way to play the matchup right now, it seems. There certainly are other options as well, but I think that for the average ladder hero, this is the way you want to play it. Just don't do anything until the 13-minute mark other than, you know, turtle up on your own bases. And more often than not, if you're a ladder hero, right, if you're below like 6k MMR, aka 99.9% of the player base, you're gonna die to this push. Solar does have a couple of Vipers now, or actually just one Viper, so maybe he can abduct. There you go, good yoink. He can abduct one of those units. Nicely done. The Spore Crawlers actually are helping out as well. Couple more Vipers are coming up. Spire now also, second Spire that is, coming up here too. So maybe he can go for the double upgrades. Not bad at all. Solar cycling here towards the left. Ooh, High Templar are moving very far forward, but they still managed to land a nice storm, and the High Templar actually lives. Brenda over there sadly got picked off. Yeah, I love this. So the Disruptor transition is fantastic. This is like a relatively recent addition. So basically ground units right now that are going down are being replaced with air units, but they're also being replaced by Disruptors. And Disruptors are really good against this Lurker-based army that Zerg players are trying to go for, right? Because Solar is basically just trying to walk around. Just trying to make sure that he has enough static defense here, moving the units around, getting a couple abductions here at a time. Wonderful plays here by Solar. But here comes the Disruptor. The Disruptor is scary. Ooh, there you go. Because it can force those Lurkers to uproot, right? And once the Lurkers are no longer burrowed, then all of a sudden the rest of the Protoss army can come in. Good feedback there by ShoWTimE. Reduces the energy right there, or removes the energy rather, on one of those Vipers. Playing late game Skytoss really well, by the way, is super hard. I know there's a bit of misconception. Partly also because of my, you know, complaining, but playing the late game Protoss army perfectly is actually super tricky because you need like 5 different hotkeys to control all of this really well. If you want to play it at 90% efficiency, that's pretty easy, but playing at 100% is super hard. Likewise, though, here for Solar, he's not going to be able to hotkey this with, like, 3. He's going to need a little bit more than that. Okay. Gets one of the disruptors. Good abductions here. So the Vipers are super critical, right? So the Vipers are here to abduct basically whatever they can find. All of these units are good to abduct. The problem is that the High Templar, besides Sonic Storm, have that other ability called Feedback, which allows them to remove the energy out of those Vipers. There we go. Once again, gets an abduction. He's just trying to abduct whatever he can. Doesn't matter what it is. These are all big, glowy boys. Just pick up whatever you can. And he's doing so really nicely. At this point, it looks like ShoWTimE is, unable to really get anything done, right? So, he's happily expending once more. Here's the transition as well towards Corruptors. So, Corruptors here, double upgrades. I mean, 1 Greater Spire right now, which is also an upgrade. The Zealots, though, are getting more work done than this main army. So, they just killed a hatchery in the bottom right. Nicely done here. Good abductions here by the Zerg. Adds a couple of those disruptors relatively easily. And these traits are actually really quite good for the Zerg. Yeah. This is the efficiency that you want. Okay. I wonder if we're going to be going into a split map scenario. So just like when we discussed Protoss or Terran versus Zerg not that long ago. I mean, I feel like oh god, don't kill your own hatchery. But late game Zerg armies are just not as strong as they once were. They've nerfed Zerg quite a lot over the years. Because Zerg was basically winning everything, so probably justified. That being said though, Zerg late game is not as powerful as it once was. And usually it's easy to like sum it up in the sense that Zerg does not trade efficiently. Right? So very seldomly do we see Zerg getting favorable traits in the late game. And because of that, if it is a split map scenario, so both players have the same amount of bases, since Protoss will usually be more efficient. By the way, these Immortals, he didn't need them anymore, so he's replacing them with other units. But basically what Protoss is trying to get at right now is they're trying to just take their half of the map, because if they can mine out their half of the map and trade decently well, they're going to be able to obtain the victory in the long run, right? Ultralisks are coming up as well. Now, Ultras are a bit of a strange choice. Ultras are really quite good when it comes to killing all of these ground units. They're good against everything but Immortals. So now that Solar knows that his opponent has no longer got those Immortals because they were just given up here to make room for other units, he's going to be able to make that transition. And once the Immortals go underneath, right, they can kill Disruptors, they can kill High Templar, they can kill Archons, they can kill whatever very easily. Other than Immortals, they're really not good against those. But once everything on the ground is cleared up, then all of a sudden Solar can come in with the what is it called? The Corruptor, Lurker, whatever, right? He can bring everything else forward once he gets there. Okay. Protoss is now gonna make this army even more powerful by going into the mothership as well, which is fantastic. I love the fact, by the way, that during all of this, he took another expansion. So ShoWTimE is not really... Oh, is he gonna try and take this base? I wonder if that's maybe a little bit too ambitious. Alright, well, we're gonna find out. Looks like maybe he wants to expand over here. Zerg now going in for a counterattack. Oh, okay, so I thought he was gonna use those Ultras here on the main fight, but instead he's just using them for a counter right now. Alright. Battery overcharge, though, is very powerful here, but I think that might just be enough Zerg to break through all of this. 8 drones end up going down to a storm drop. 9 drones end up going down, but I think the High Templar may very well get picked off as well. Recall being utilized in the top left-hand corner, so some static defense was killed, but Solar is gonna have to run. Good plays here, though, by ShoWTimE, right? I mean, this is about as ShoWTimE as it gets. This is the way that Solar wants to, or sorry, ShoWTimE wants to play every single game of StarCraft 2. He's ridiculously good at not dying to stupid stuff. Yeah, he was hoping for a recall. He's already got 13 kills, though. Anyways, he's very good at not dying to stupid stuff, so the way that ShoWTimE is playing this is absolutely wonderful. This is the way that he's been wanting to play StarCraft ever since it was first released. Look at the static defense. He's like, yeah, okay, look at bringing a couple Ultras over here now. I'll just create like a funnel for your units to not be able to walk through. Even a High Templar and 2 Archons are apparently dedicated to the defense over here in the top left. There's the Mama ship. Mothership, in case you're unfamiliar, has a couple of cool abilities. Most notably, it's got the recall ability, so you can recall units towards it, much like an Arbiter in StarCraft 1. So maybe at some point we're going to be seeing this mothership, I don't know, head on over to the main base of the Zerg and then recall the entirety of the Protoss army in there. which is very powerful. And obviously, you can use the Nexus Recall again to get back as well. It's also got an ability called Time Warp. Time Warp basically reduces the attack speed and the movement speed of everyone caught within the bubble by like 50%. It used to be only a movement speed that was affected back in the day, but these days, I mean, look at the mothership. It's going out on its own. Where's it going to go? I wonder if it's going to go out to try and go into the main base. That would be awesome. Yeah, I think that's where it's headed. Okay. Like the main base of the Zerg, that is. So if he can actually force all of the Zerg army here to the right and then all of a sudden recall towards the main base of the Zerg, that would be amazing. Alright. So, well, this base is never going to be taken. No way. I wonder actually if this map layout favors... Oh, once again, good storm drop over here. Nicely done. I wonder if this kind of... this kind of army actually... Oh god, the probes are being given up. The same can be said for a bunch of drones. But I wonder if this kind of late game will favor Protoss still. I have no idea. Throwing water balloons at a Hydralisk, it's not going to happen. Where did the mama ship go? Alright. She was just hiding in the top left-hand corner. Oh, come on. I think he's probably waiting for a good opportunity. Oh, right. What I was going to try and say. I wonder if this map favors Zerg just by the design of it. Because this base is very difficult for the Protoss player to acquire, whereas Zerg can quite comfortably take their, you know, their map, or their base rather, in the opposite section of the map. So, Solar has been trading rather well so far. If he can grab another expansion and mine that one out, and prevent his opponent from mining another base, right? Then obviously he's going to be a full base up. Maybe he can even consider mining this one himself. Then obviously this game is going to be absolutely fantastic for him. Void Rays are being added into the mix as well. Void Rays have an ability called Prismatic Alignment. Oh, okay. It's just there for the mothership cloaking. Nice. Anyways, they have an ability called Prismatic Alignment, which makes it deal additional damage to armored units. Corruptors, which is basically the main brunt right here of the Zerg army, are all Corruptors, or are all armored. So he's going to be able to, yeah, hopefully deal some damage with that. I did actually cast a game of ZVP not that long ago, right? Wasn't that also a ShoWTimE game? Like a late game ZVP match, that is. What was it again? Serral versus ShoWTimE, if I recall correctly. Yeah, the one with that really big fungal growth. Alright, Corruptors are quite mobile. But Void Rays can run away quite easily too, so look at that. Prismatic Alignment, oof, activated for a split second there. Almost ended up killing one of those Ultralisks. Here's the new Nexus being acquired. So ShoWTimE really wants to have this base. Considering the amount of static defense that's available over here, this is not going to be broken very easily. Even 3 Ultras here and a bunch of Hydras aren't going to do it, but Lurkers may very well change the tide of battle. The Protoss army, though, while relatively quick to where it used to be back in the day, is still rather slow. Oh, come on, you can use that. You can use the Corruptor Pissing ability, right? I feel like he could have easily killed that base, but it's easy to judge this when you're an observer. It's very difficult to actually pull this off. So Solar right now trying to abuse the Zerg mobility. He's forcing this Protoss army to go back and forth and back and forth. That's where the Mama ship can always help out as well, I suppose. It's gonna cloak this. Now the Corruptors come in, though. All right. If you decide to get fancy, yeah, you may just end up losing the mothership. There's the Time Warp, but at least the base in the top left will be alive for a little while longer. Mothership will immediately be reproduced. Motherships, by the way, that cost 400 minerals, 400 gas. Makes them the most expensive unit in the game. That said, Zerg has lost at least as much over here. He's trying to break through the location in the top right-hand corner. Most of the static defense over there is actually gone. Solar looking to try and see if he can get some fungal growths in, maybe get an abduction or two. He's making a few Brute Lords, but not too many. It seems that actually Solar is apparently fine playing late game. Yeah. He doesn't mind it seems. At least we've now seen him do this multiple times over the last couple of weeks. So he's gonna make a transition here towards Brute Lords. You gotta be so careful, though, here, as a Zerg, that you don't make too many of them. Because Brute Lords are not supply light. They're kind of like lurkers, right? They fulfill a similar task in the fact that they are a siege unit. So they're good at picking off, for example, those ground units here that are running around. I mean, they're really only good against that. But yeah, he's committing like only part of his army to defending. He's constantly using a lot of supply here as well to try and get himself some kills on those bases. In the meantime, though, we have a full-on split map scenario. So ShoWTimE is taking the base over here. Everything north of what I'm trying to draw right now is his. Immortals were added into the mix as well upon seeing those Ultralisks. But the Ultras are gone. So I think the Immortals may very well be gone here in a little bit too. Although, you gotta be so careful. A couple of Lurkers have made their way over towards the base in the top left, but it's not quite gonna be enough. Brutes, though, are gonna be really nice as well when it comes to launching their little Brutelings at killing that base. In the meantime, though, ShoWTimE is advancing here. He's given up quite a lot of his carriers. Actually, as a matter of fact, he's got very few carriers here in total. He's destroyed the base over here. Not a whole lot of minerals actually remain in that location. Lurkers now moving on over towards the top right. You can see that ShoWTimE doesn't mind taking a fight, right? ShoWTimE likes the idea of taking a straight-up battle here. But Solar has been denying that for quite some time here. He's got a lot of static defense here now coming up too, so... Solar doesn't want to fight without all of his spore crawlers present. And Protoss doesn't really want to fight unless they absolutely have to, while fighting on top of static defense themselves as well. Okay. Tempests are being added into the mix. So Tempests have this new research right over here. Well, new. It's been around for quite some time right now, about a half year or so. Essentially, this upgrade is gonna make the Tempest deal more damage against static defense, or against buildings in general. So it's really wonderful when it comes to picking off those spore crawlers, for example, right? So they obviously outrange spore crawlers, and you can do a lot of damage with it. So it's called tectonic destabilizers. He's even going to be getting the... he didn't even have that yet? Wow. So the Void Rays already seemed pretty quick to me. But there it is. He's going to start the research right now for the Void Ray speed upgrade as well. It's going to make them quite quick. Now, Zerg will retake this base. I wonder if Protoss is going to retake that expansion over here. There's still, yeah, a couple thousand minerals here in total. I'm sure the same can be said over here. Wasting a little bit of APM there. Making this Protoss player waste a little bit of APM, that is. Speaking of which, look at how fast these guys are playing. Just remember, whenever anyone says that Skytoss is easy to play, that if you want to play it really well, you gotta be one fast pro gamer. Another Stargate is coming up. How many Stargates are we at? Let's see. So we're already at 5 Stargates. There's gonna be 6 Stargates in total. If we look right now at the cost of the armies, yeah. So if you look at the bank at the bottom of the screen, right? So both players are obviously maxed out. They've only got 40-something workers, right? Couple more probes actually will be killed as well. They, like, just barely have enough here to remake their armies. So if both of these armies clash, they will be able to remax just once. Even though the banks are absolutely massive. These late-game forces for both Protoss and Zerg are by no stretch of the imagination cheap. Now they're mostly just tiptoeing around each other. This is one of those bases that really isn't critical anymore for Solar, or for ShoWTimE rather, other than the fact that it gives, you know, Zerg access potentially towards the natural and then the main base as well. So Solar doesn't really want to give up too much breaking this position, but if you can break it, obviously, that is nice. We're gonna see a major clash here between these two armies at some point. I don't know when that is gonna be. Maybe it's coming up right now. I love the fact that that Oracle is still alive. I think that's the Oracle from the early game. It's constantly tagging the army, and there we go. You see that beautiful, well, you saw the little golden ball right there, right? Going, indeed, against those spore crawlers. That's that, that new ability. I think I've only casted like 1 or 2 games where we ever see that ability from the Tempest. So it basically just flat up deals way more damage against, like, structures. So it's gonna be capable of easily outranging all of this, and the Revelation ability there with the Oracle, right? It's just gonna reveal where that army is located, and then the Tempest can be utilized to shoot at their maximum range, because these units can shoot away way further than they can actually see. Lurkers moving on over here. They do outrange some of this static defense, except for that lurker. You gotta back off a little bit, buddy. There you go. ShoWTimE, though, decides to move on over here with his entire army. This opens up the opportunity once again for Solar to potentially go after the base here. Lurkers got picked off. He's gonna replace them with more Corruptors, apparently. One Ultralisk as well. Yeah, there's no Immortals in the army, so there's no Immortals at this point. Ultralisks do quite well. You know what? Maybe some Zergling drops inside of the main base would not be a bad idea, although there is once again some static defense set up there. I mean, ShoWTimE could definitely plant more static defense if he wants to, but I feel like big Zergling drop, I mean, he still has Dropper Lords, or a Nidus Worm inside of the main base would not be a bad idea. Nidus Worm in the main, maybe hit with the main army over here. There's potential. Here come more probes. So every time, by the way, you see probes dying right now, it's just them trying to open up more supply to fit in more army units. Yeah, I love the addition to Tempest. It just requires so much additional micro. So it's going to force his army to back off. Oracle flies forward, uses Revelation. There we go. The Tempest can continue firing. Barely not enough here to one-shot those spores. One Ultra and a couple Zerglings. Once again, ready to go in. Now, to me, whenever I play this from the Zerg's point of view, it always feels really desperate. Because it feels like you're losing in so many ways. It feels like you can't really take the army head-on very well. It feels like with all the static defense set up, counterattacks are super difficult to pull off as well. So I'm excited here to find out what Solar decides to do and how this is gonna progress here. So once again, I do not know who ends up winning this game. I secretly hope, and this is me being biased obviously, but I secretly hope that it is gonna be the Zerg player who obtains the victory, just because we barely ever see it in the late game right now. Maybe Solar can pull off some sort of micro that shows us how it's supposed to be done. But I feel like this has been entirely ShoWTimE's game so far, right? Despite the fact that Solar has such a massive bank, and he can make whatever he likes, this is going to be very tricky. So, interestingly enough, ShoWTimE is setting up new shield batteries here on the high ground. Maybe he's anticipating the army. Oh, coming on over here now. I love this. Yeah, gun down that base. Get rid of it. Beautiful. Now, I'm obviously always trying to be unbiased, right? But it's just that this is the exact situation that most Zerg players struggle against on the ladder. So it'd be nice to get a little bit of justice. Ultra, no. No, buddy, no. I wonder, like, I don't really know exactly how replay files in StarCraft 2 work, but I wonder if those interceptors flying around are all considered to be individual things that the replay file writes down. I can imagine that interceptors and carriers in general make the file sizes rather big. So what are we waiting for right now? You may be wondering. We're basically waiting for them to mine out their bases. They're waiting for the opponent to potentially slip up if you had, or if you land a nice fungal growth. That would not be bad at all, obviously. Solar just adds on even more static defense. So how much? Yeah, we're gonna go up to 40 plus freaking spore crawlers. Okay, abduction there. The Oracle from earlier finally gets killed. 11 additional gateways and 3 more stargates. What in the world? So ShoWTimE wants to play this like a Zerg now, man. He's like, okay, well, you can instantly rebuild. Watch this. Hold my beer. Once we clash, I'm just gonna rebuild everything in one production cycle. Carriers will still take a while to build, obviously, but if you have 9 of them coming up at a time, that's not bad. So Solar wants to move forward here. He wants to try and land an abduction on anything and everything. But so far, it's difficult to pull that off. Once again, big revelation here on top of all of those corruptors. I wonder if you just, yeah, do you just long distance mine this? Is that what you do? There's actually a couple mineral patches still available over here. More probes are being sent forward. Are we really gonna go down to 0 workers and 0 mineral patches? Because it feels like that's the direction we're heading into. There's only 14 probes remaining, and I think pretty much all of them are over there. Oh, okay. Knight Templar gets picked off. The mothership is still here, though. I love the fact that he's actually using the mothership as like a defensive tool. Yeah. I mean, it's heavy in supplies, so you do need it in the ultimate army, I guess. But it's quite nice to just have it cloaking whatever is underneath. As soon as it's spotted, though, Solar is looking to see if it's still there. The Corruptors sniff it out. Okay. Do we have a major fight coming up right now? Because there is a location, obviously, where there's not so much static defense, and one of those is inside of the main base of the Zerg player. Well, here we go. Prismatic alignment is being utilized. Protoss wants to sneak away once again. Recall is used, though, and, well, guess what? That was the Protoss army once again zipping towards the other side of the map. So losing the Hive there kind of sucks for Solar. Not so much for upgrades or anything else, but because you need a Hive to be able to actually make Vipers. So the only requirement that Vipers have is that you have a Hive. But you need to have a Hive, right? It's not like there's a Viper Den or a Viper Cavern or a Spire or something. No, Greater Spire would be interesting, but you can make Vipers far before that. Caustic Spray, maybe? Yeah. The Caustic Spray of the Corruptors can be good against structures, but... Fungal, fungal, fungal. Okay, here comes a massive fungal, actually. ShoWTimE all of a sudden finds himself caught with his pants down. Gets a parasitic bomb as well, Solar. So a lot of those units will start taking base damage. Ugh. Not a very good split there by ShoWTimE at all. Still, though, battery overcharge here is going to regenerate those shields quite nicely. But that is a lot of very soft... a lot of very soft Void Rays here. So I think that's what Solar is trying to do. I think he's trying to land a fungal and then follow it up with a parasitic bomb. So fungal growth from the infestors and a parasitic bomb from the Vipers. And then try and see if he can potentially finish all of that off. Even more probes are being killed? Really? Alright. Well, it doesn't get much more than extreme late game than this, right? Yeah, I'm actually starting to get a little bit concerned here for ShoWTimE, because the bulk of his army is this group of Void Rays, and half of those have been softened up, right? Now, obviously, their shields regenerate, but their base life is still going to be very low. Now, as a Protoss, what do you do here? Do you just kill them yourself and then remake them? No, obviously not, but... It's not a terrible idea is what I'm trying to say, you know? Like, if you're trying to make the ultimate army, having some of your units sitting at like 3/4 of their life is just not ideal. Oh, okay. Abduction once again. Here comes the Broods, but nah. So, I think that's the last Oracle, wasn't it? Yeah. So the last Oracle actually makes it difficult right now for the Protoss player to get a... Well, there you go. A good shot in with the Tempest. He immediately decides to remake the Oracle as well. Hive is going to be coming up, so... Disruptors? Disruptors can be utilized as well to kill static defense. There you go. Brenda and Karen all of a sudden find themselves without any energy. Yeah, so this base is going to be running very low here over the next few minutes. It's already running actually very low. We're going to have to see a clash between these two at some point, right? I feel like it's coming up any moment now, guys. I can't really hype it up any more than that. I think that this is as good as it's gonna be for Solar, right? He's got a massive bank, much bigger than his opponent. He's got loads of static defense still set up as well. Plus, he's softened up those Void Rays. His army is as strong as it's gonna be. You're really not gonna make this any better. Zerglings and Ultra once again trying to get some work done. Corruptor swoop in from the side. Broodlords, though, in a bit of a dangerous spot. Now, massive fungal growths once again land on all of this Protoss army. He's going to be able to chain fungal this for a little while longer as well. There's the... Oh my god, I'm even dropping some frames right now. What in the world? That's insane. All right, well, anyways, we see parasitic bombs going down pretty much everywhere. This entire Protoss army is being softened up a lot by that Viper spell. Corruptors are coming in right now. They're trying to see if they can potentially pick off one or two of those units. I think a few of them have been picked off so far. Corruptors, though, have been forced to the background once again. Now, I don't really see a whole lot of High Templar here, right? And the High Templar are really needed to zone away most of this Zerg army. This is Solar waiting to strike for quite some time. Massive Stalker warp in as well. He's actually reinforcing this with 8 Void Rays at a time. Zerg decides to back off, wait maybe for some reinforcements. So, though, once again, apparently it was just a trap. Fungal growth is being realized once more. ShoWTimE, though, has got himself the prismatic alignment, but I think there might just be enough Corruptors to pick all of this off. Most of the army, though, that's being reinforced right now is just more Corruptors, right? So that's a little bit dangerous. Corruptors is the exclusive unit here to counterattack with. It's got to clean up most of the Protoss air units, but I'm not entirely sure how good this is going to be. I like the reinforcements from ShoWTimE quite a bit better. Maybe if you reinforce this with Zerg, Ultralisks, and Lynx right now, that might be good. Okay, he's instead going to go into a whole load of Brute Lords. They're going to take some time to finish up, but he's doing so in a natural expansion, so that will be at least relatively safe. ShoWTimE, though, in just, I don't know, like 30 seconds, he spent his entire bank. That's it. Like, he's basically broke again now, right? No, I mean, he's still got 5,000 gas, so maybe he can make himself some Archons or something. Yeah, there you go. Make some more High Templar, morph in a couple Archons, but that Protoss late-game army is so pricey that even if you mine out half of your map, or sorry, like most of your side of the map, you're gonna run out of money. And now all of a sudden, this is a Protoss ground army, right? Sure, there's going to be some Storm, and sure, there's going to be some Void Rays and a couple Tempests and all that. But I feel like this is what Solar knows how to defeat. Look at the mineral bank as well. He's got tons and tons and tons of minerals. So, I mean, once the Archons are taken care of, Zerglings would absolutely murder this. So he reinforced with literally just Corruptors and then made a whole lot of Brutes. Let's see how this is going to go. Spore Crawler's not as important anymore. This is still a scary Protoss force, though. 166 supply worth of Protoss. Here come the Brute Lords. They're picking off those Archons very quickly. Okay, Corruptors, though, flying forward. You don't want to fly the Corruptors on top of all of those Archons. That seems like a terrible idea. Stalkers, though, managed to blink underneath all of the Brutes, but I wonder if there's not just too many Brute Lords. He's just taking all of those hits to the face so that it is not even really bothering to micro those Brutes backwards. At the same time, though, I guess he was busy microing those Corruptors. He cleaned up all of the Protoss air units, and there it is. I think that is a late-game Zerg victory in Protoss versus Zerg. And that is something that I've barely seen. I'm trying to think of the games that I've casted over like the last half year or so that went to the late game of ZVP and had an actual Zerg victory. I don't think there was any. Like, quite literally? I'm not sure. So, Solar right now decides to dump his final minerals. And actually, keep that in mind. He's got very little money here remaining. So, his bank is empty right now, too. But he's making additional queens. Obviously, they have transfusion, which is fantastic when it comes to healing up the Brute Lords once again. And he's making a bunch of Zerglings as well. Okay. So, ShoWTimE really does not want to fight without aesthetic defense, but the problem is that the Brute Lords outrange that for him, right? So, the Tempests are nice. Maybe you can pick off a couple of those units at once. Look at the scoreboard, the timer, by the way. The timer, just now became with a little hour right there in front of it. Just to indicate. I don't know exactly at what moment that happens. I think it's like the 40-minute mark or so, but it gets like a 0 in front of it. I'm trying to think of ways in which this would now be a Protoss victory. And I don't see any. Here come the Brute Lords. If this would have been a transition back towards like ground units, then the static defense would be the way to go, I suppose. ShoWTimE doesn't know exactly how much supply Solar has, right? But he's got, well, 100 army supply more, which is absolutely insane. And those Brute Lords are just going to be able to bite through all of this static defense very easily. A couple of Storms do get baited here as well, but ShoWTimE right now is trying to get his army out of this base. Here comes the Brutes, though. Yeah, the Brute Lords are ready to continue going forward. Solar does hit, or sorry, ShoWTimE does hit a lot of Psionic Storms there on all of the Brutes, but they just don't care. Yeah, those Brutes have been, they have been battered and bruised for quite some time, but there it is. Solar wins a 45-minute game of Zerg versus Protoss against one of the best defensive Protoss players in the world. I can guarantee you that other top-level Zerg players were looking at this game as well, or maybe are looking at this game as well, and they're like, okay, how do you approach this? Is this the way? If Protoss consistently starts losing late-game ZVP, it's going to shift the entire meta of this matchup. Yeah. I think then all of a sudden there's going to be a lot more active games once again. You can imagine though, right? Like, some people are calling for like balance updates and balance patches and all that, right? Imagine if they do a Zerg buff, it would become heavily Zerg favored all of a sudden, right? Even if you just make one little change. Like, say, for example, they revert the feedback change and make feedback, once again, one range less than the abduction range, right, on the Viper. All of a sudden, that would completely flip this matchup in favor of Zerg. Especially in the late game. So, it's a very, very delicate balance that you have to strike in. A lot of people are always calling for balance changes. I guess that allows them to justify their losses on the ladder or something along those lines, but Solar, at the very least, Solar right here shows us how it is meant to be done. I hope you enjoyed watching today's video. If you did, hit that like button down below. If you want to see more, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an awesome day. Don't forget to smile. And I'll see you once again in the next one.